Hello and welcome to the Great American Stampin Show. I'm Brandy Barnard from brandystamps.com and you have found my YouTube channel. This is an episode of a stamping competition called the Great American Stampin Show. You can watch my video and my 4 competitors' videos, who are all linked in my description, and just pick which one you like the best by clicking like on YouTube or thumbs up. And that's how we find out who the winner is each time. This episode, we are featuring Stampin Blends. And so these are a really fun product that Stampin Up carries. We've got a full array of amazing colors, and I can't wait to show you some of my favorite tricks and techniques with the Stampin Blends. Our challenge product today for the Great American Stampin Show is Stampin Blends. So these are an alcohol-based marker, and they come in a huge variety of Stampin Up colors. When you buy them, you get a pair. So this right here is the set of Daffodil Delight markers. And so it says right on the side, dark and light Daffodil Delight. Each one of these has more of a brush tip end and more of a bullet tip end. And they do color quite differently. One of them is hard and nubby and does kind of smaller spaces, where the other one is more of a swooping brush tip. So today I'm going to show you some of my favorite tips with the Stampin Blends. Our basic white cardstock, either the thick or the regular, has an extremely smooth finish to it, which allows the blending of the markers to happen really easily. So if you're finding you don't get amazing results with Stampin Blends, but you're not using our Stampin Up cardstock, I'd suggest you give that a try first. Switch over to Stampin Up cardstock and see if that helps. Because Stampin Blends are an alcohol-based marker, you want a water-based ink pad. So I typically use my Memento ink pad in Tuxedo Black when I am planning to color with the blends. So today I'm going to use an image from Blueberry Bunches. This is a stamp set in our current Stampin' Up catalog, and I'm just using this large image with the blueberries and leaves. This is going to give us a lot of opportunity to show off how to color with the Stampin' Blends. So here's my image, and because it's a larger one, I'm going to bring the ink pad to it instead of vice versa. That's always how I use larger images. We're going to press down, but you don't want to give it too much pressure because this is a pretty detailed stamp and I don't want to kill the details. Sometimes if you press too hard, you can smush down the details. So this is just perfect. I'm going to want to let the image set for a few moments before I start coloring over the top of it. One of the things I did when I was getting ready to color this image, I knew I wanted to use a blue and a green. So I pulled out all the blues and greens that were candidates, and I grabbed a chunk of thick, basic white cardstock, and I just lined up my colors and I test sampled all of them. And that way I could look and see which colors I would most like to have for my project. So when I looked at this, I decided to choose these 2 blues, which actually happen to be the Blueberry Bushel dark and light. So that's perfect. At least the names are perfect for this. And then I Googled an image of a blueberry plant so I could decide what shade I wanted for my leaves. And this bright green was definitely the best. So this is my dark and light shaded spruce. But I'd highly recommend this. I mean, it's a very elementary way to sort of get an idea of how you want to do it. But just swatch out your colors before you get started. And that way you're one step ahead when you start coloring and blending. Now there are a couple ways you can go about it. You can either come in and do the dark areas first and then fill in with light, or you can start by coloring everything light and then bring in some darker highlights. Both ways work, so I'm going to show you both ways. On the blueberries, I'm going to start with the darkest. So I'm using the bullet tip because I want to color these little, kind of this little star blossom area that's at the bottom of each blueberry. And I'm just going to come in and carefully lay some color down into each of these star shapes. Okay, now I'm also going to go pretty much around the outer edge of each blueberry just to kind of give it a nice dark, defined outline edge. And around the inner edge of each of these blueberries, I've kind of just come in with some kind of lines, just so it's not a perfect outline of the outer edge of the blueberry. I've got kind of some fading in. And the coloring on the actual image has kind of given me a hint to do that. There's this little line imagery that's there, so I kind of sketched along with that. And now I can hop over to my light blueberry bushel. And since I'm not doing details, I can use more of the brush tip. I'm just gonna kind of come and color in the spaces to start with. So I'll connect my stars with these outer edges. Now here is where the magic of the Stampin' Blends starts to come in. I can go back over any of these areas to darken them up more. So I'm going to go along my inner edge, kind of give it the medium level. And I can continue to add and blend color as long as I want to. And it's never going to shred up the cardstock because this is an alcohol, not a water-based marker. If you continue to lay down water-based markers over and over and over, it eventually kind of balls up the paper. You've probably had that happen before. That does not happen with the Stampin' Blends. You will get some bleeding, so it kind of goes all the way through the cardstock. So you'll always want to work with a scratch paper underneath you. But other than that, you can just go to town and continue to blend. You could bring in other colors. If you're extremely artistic, you'd probably be blending in some kind of crazy pinks and yellows and just giving it this cool artistic look. The awesome thing about these is it makes you seem like an artist, even if you're not. I'm totally not. And I'm just kind of following what the stamped lines are already telling me to do. But it's really fun to do, and the end product is really beautiful. So now I'm going in with my lighter green, the light shaded spruce, and I'm going to show you the technique where you do the light color first. Okay, so I'm going all the way across this image, the leaves here, with the light. So I'll just color the whole thing in solid. Okay, I've got all of the leaves just completely colored in, not a lot of depth going on at all yet. I just laid down a base of color. So this is the other way to go about it. Light first and then come in with the dark to add some nice highlights. So I'm using the bold bullet tip now, and I'm just tracing over the lines that are already here on the stamped image. And I'm not even like trying to make them look amazing because I know I'm going to come back and blend them a bit. Okay, so I've gone over all the leaves just with, you know, some lines back on top of the lines that are with the stamp. And now I'll come back over to my light one and blend them in. So I'm just kind of mixing them. I'm going over them, doing some lines on top of them so they don't look quite as stark. And you don't need to do this perfectly. Just kind of come in and messily add some color. Maybe don't do a perfect layer of color all over the leaf again. Instead, let some areas start to go darker. I'm gonna come back now to my bullet point. Let's put some lines down into the stem, give it a little more depth. Around some of the edges of this leaf, I'm going to give it a little more detail. I'm making tiny little hash lines kind of just along one edge of each leaf. Okay, I'm starting to get some really nice depth in those leaves, and I have lighter, glossier areas and the darker areas. I'm going to show you another little trick now with the Stampin' Blends. This is the color lifter. So you just buy this separately. It looks like a white marker, but what it actually is plain alcohol. So there's no color to it. So you can actually blend color away. So right here, I don't even know how well you can see it. I'll try to zoom on the video. I have a place where I just went out of the lines just a tiny bit here. So I can come with my color lifter and just kind of brush that away. Any tiny boo-boos are pretty easy to fix with the color lifter. But you can also lift a bit of color for highlighting. So let's come over to these blueberries. You know, as they get ripe and get big, they tend to get that lighter, chalkier area right on the juiciest parts. And I'm just gonna color a little of my white around on those areas. It takes a few moments to start working, to start to see the magic. Starting to see it lift really well. Come back over this one. You can keep going back over it again if you want to. just to lift as much as you want. And really, you're not erasing, you're just kind of moving the color. So right now I'm pushing some of the color away from these brighter highlight areas. So there's just kind of an elementary lesson on the Stampin' Blends. I wanted to show you this kind of cool little technique. This is my Blueberry Bushel Stampin' Right marker. So this is a different kind of a marker. And I'm going to go to my brush tip and I'm going to actually put the tip of the marker in the lid, and then I'm pulling downward toward the project and I'm letting it snap as it comes down. And what it's doing is creating a little splatter of blue ink. So kind of a fun little addition there for our card. I'm using a soft seafoam card base. I just got it cut to 5.5 by 8.5, and I just used my bone folder to fold it in half. And here's a little piece of paper. This is from our Country Blooms or something like that, Countryside Designs designer paper. I'll put that in the description so you can see the right name of the paper I used. But I've just cut a piece that is 2.5 by 5.25, so it's going to go almost all the way across the height of this card. I'm placing it about 1/4 inch from the fold, and then it's got just 1/8 of an inch of green showing top and bottom. Okay, and then on this piece, let's go ahead and wrap a piece of ribbon around. So I'm cutting approximately 9 inches, and now I am cutting it lengthwise. See how I'm using my sharp scissors to just bisect this ribbon? Once you've got that cut all the way up, you're going to use your thumbnail to just capture a few of the threads and pull them out. That helps hide any imperfections on the edge of your ribbon because you probably weren't able to cut it perfectly straight. I'm also going to use a scrap of linen thread, and I'll just straighten that out with my thumbnail. So I want it to go pretty much right across here. And then on this end, I will tie a bow. So we'll hold this in place, and I'm just going to tie a knot first. I want this to be tight enough to actually hold the black checked ribbon in place. So that looks pretty good. It's holding well. And now I'll just do a simple bow, tie a loop, wrap around right through the spot there. Okay, let's come down to the corner here with a greeting. I've got the words hello there, and this is from the exact same stamp set. This is my soft seafoam ink pad, which is a very light green. It's the same color as my card base. Okay, so I've got my hello there down in the corner. And now this piece can go right above. I'll just use some Stampin' Dimensionals. We'll lay some over the ribbon to help ensure that it stays in place. I want kind of a lot of the paper to show over here. It's got kind of a tiny little blossom design that almost mimics the blossom design of the edge of the blueberries there. I'm going to come in now with these gems. These are the adhesive backed sparkle gems, and they come in a black that is a really nice complement to this ribbon. So I'll just kind of place one of them down here. We'll do a couple that are here. And that is it, you guys. Just like that, I have a pretty artistic looking representation of these little blueberries, and they have such a depth to them that I created with the Stampin' Blends. That was a lot of fun to do. Well, that's it, you guys. I had a lot of fun today playing with the Stampin' Blends and making this fun blueberry card. I hope that mine was your favorite. If it is, just give it a quick thumbs up. Feel free to share with your friends. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss anything. And if you haven't checked out my competitors' videos yet, their videos are all linked in my description, so click those and check them out too. Join my email list, hop on my Facebook group. All those are linked in the description. And I will see you back here in 2 weeks for our next episode. Have a great night.